So I'm looking forward to this. And if you'd like to go ahead, please, Lizzie, it's all yours.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to talk to you today about the child-led enterprises that we offer at PupilProfit. So I set PupilProfit up a little over a decade ago. And until 2019, I was working with schools setting up healthy tuck shops. So it was the old-fashioned tuck shop idea with the twist that actually it's healthy, and children were given an opportunity to take the reins on healthy eating. And I think a lot of education involves telling children what the right thing to do is and hoping they'll do it, and actually setting them free with a range of snacks that are healthy and letting them sell them to each other is enormous fun, and they get a lot out of it. And it's always been a really exciting thing to be a part of. So shortly before lockdown, I had the idea that the tuck shop could be transformed into a refill shop. And this, I grew up in a little village, and I used to take Cherryade bottles back to the newsagents, and they were very kind, and they'd give you a 20p back for them or something, and you give them back and they'd reuse them. And I never forgot that. And my daughter used to dance at a ballet school, which was right next to a refill shop, actually, more recently. And I used to get her to ballet with bun as perfect as could be, and, shoes in bag, etc., and would forget my refill containers for the refill shop. And when I did eventually manage to remember the refill containers, I refilled a container with body wash, and I was told it was £14. And I thought, crumbs, that's a lot of money for body wash. Happy to do it this once, just about, but this doesn't feel like a match. And so anyway, the idea of adapting the tuck shop, keeping the tuck shop, but then developing a tuck shop Mark II, which reduces plastic waste and allows the children, more importantly, to be involved, was born. And then lockdown happened, and so I had plenty of time with no work to develop it as an idea, and was lucky enough to get some funding from the GLA. So this is all the backstory, but out of that, we have 80 schools working with refill shops. So there are 80 teams of children selling refills to parents and carers and staff, and reducing plastic waste. So I'm just going to do a little very light touch death by PowerPoint. And if at any point you want to ask a question, please just unmute and jump in. And then I think we'll watch a brief cartoon, because that's going from where we're at to where we're going to be in September, which I think is an exciting development. And then I think we can have a sort of more open chat about how we work with schools and what the benefits really are, and your take on it. So I'll share screen now. And
can I just ask,
yes,
what age group are the children that you're dealing with?
Oh, brilliant question. So they are aged about 9 to about 14. So it's Key Stage 2 in primary school, Neil.
Right.
And then in secondary school, it varies. It's very often Key Stage 3, but then some of Key Stage 4 want to get involved, and of course they can. And of course the younger children, if they do want to get involved, no one wants to turn them away. But the way we do this is it's sort of packaged up as an enterprise project. And if you try and teach enterprise to the whole breadth of a primary school, it holds the older children back. So we say for the enterprise training, just train the older children. But if the younger ones want to get involved, they can colour in posters, they can hand out leaflets, they can do, whatever activity. And there are lots of activities they can get involved in, but just not to be involved in what's effectively setting up their business. So, our mission, it's actually, the children at the moment are receiving an awful lot of education about climate change as a concept, and some of them it's going straight over their head, and some of them are getting very worried about it. And so what we're doing is giving them something, a practical response really to all of this information. And I think everyone feels better when they're doing something. So they're able to set up a refill shop. And the kind of key points are we're reducing waste. What the children probably don't quite grasp, but we're actually reducing carbon, because the carbon that goes into extracting and manufacturing plastic and then disposing of it as well, certainly in London, a lot of the so-called recycling ends up being burnt. So there is a carbon impact. And then, of course, there's a biodiversity impact, which is the thing that the children think about. They think about the turtles and just the fact that they know plastic is in everything. And so it gives them a practical response to that. So, you know, the reasons for doing it are very obvious, but the one that I think is maybe slightly unexpected is just how big of a driver convenience is. The products that we sell are much more affordable. I'll come on to that. But by putting refilling on the school run, everyone sees it and they hear about it from the marketing. But it's also incredibly easy to travel to your nearest refill shop. For a busy primary school parent is quite a big ask, actually. And then, of course, they've got these shop overheads, and we're not providing the same range of products that refill shops stock, because schools are busy places teaching lots of things. We have a capsule collection. So I hope that what we're doing is engaging people in reuse, but actually it's not seeking to replace the high street refill shops. But my own personal belief is they do a wonderful job. There are very few of them, and some of them are very expensive. So, you know, together we kind of hopefully can create that elusive silver bullet, which is trying to encourage people to treat stuff differently, keep it for longer, use it more. So the training that I mentioned, what the children do in the training is they write their own business plan, they apply for job roles, they assess their skill levels, and then they'll go on to grow those skills. And of course, in a refill shop, those become green skills. And they operate the business. And, you know, that's where they realize that customer service is important. They must be polite. They must work together as a team. They must check money or check what's on the card reader. So there's lots of really valuable learning in that. And then the products are environmentally kind. And what that means, you know, eco-friendly, what does it mean? It's a sort of marketing phrase. But it means in this instance that they've got no harsh chemicals, so no SLS or parabens. They're cruelty-free, they're vegan, they're made in the UK, they're closed loop, which simply means the bulk containers, when they're empty, go from the school back to the manufacturer. So these children who are selling refills to parents are seeing reuse within the home, but they're also seeing it within a business environment, which I think is really important. And then with each new year, the children hand on to a new group of a new cohort of pupils, and schools will manage that. So the training, it's a sort of from September, it's going from being just physical training resources to a cartoon, which we'll come to at the end. And what you see here is some children working through their business plan. And then there's just a lovely little excerpt from an application form where a year 4 child says, I want to be part of the business team because in the future, I want the world to be a better place. And that's capturing it from how the children feel about what they're doing. And so I love that. So this is what refill shops look like in practice. There's lots of pumping. Occasionally customers get squirted. Sometimes the team squirt themselves. But we try to encourage them to put the neck of the bottle over the pump and to give it a nice full pump. And they refill hand wash, body wash, hair care, laundry, etc. And what parents say, we've never done refills before, this makes it so easy, just having the option to refill is lovely. It's not something I would consider before. So there's lots of great reasons that come back from our surveys that support that this is convenient. And actually the affordability barrier doesn't present. It does in a very, very small way where people are in, where councils work with us in schools in very high levels of deprivation. They can go in and subsidise product if they wish to. So what you've got here is children running the refill shops. Just on the right-hand side, you can see we've actually even got a special educational school in Greater Manchester who set up a pop-up shop in a local, it's called the Stretford Mall. And the SEN children there run that to the great delight of the customer. You can see in his shorts, refilling. And again, you know, customers are just delighted to find refill as something that's available. So that's what's happening there. We have a lot of feedback from schools saying Ofsted came along. We had Ofsted going shopping the other day. I don't know if they actually bought, but they left their ivory tower, and I'm not sure it is an ivory tower, but anyway, they went to the shop and were very sort of participative. And the refill shop does align to their personal development grade. The fact that the children are looking at their skills in relation to the wider world and applying for job roles. And it also aligns to the Department for Education Climate Action Plans. So our prices, the products that they sell at very, very low margin because we want them to be accessible to as many people as possible. So that's starting for 500 ml of, say, fabric conditioner is £1.50 up to £2.75 for body wash. So quite reasonable prices. They're not the same as the discount retailers, but they are environmentally responsible. So it's a great price for environmentally responsible products. And, you know, if people can possibly afford to do it, then it's a wonderful thing for them to engage in, because together we are having an impact on waste and behaviour. So, so that's just the cost of the enterprise training. It's £435 for a year, and then children will set out needing to buy about £200 worth of products. Key outcomes, it's action as well as words. And that, from my perspective, you know, there's always a huge so what about something. So what are we doing? What are we changing? What's better? And this gives them the capacity to make change, which I think is phenomenal. And, you know, you may or may not have a refill shop near you. I did a launch the other day in Hammersmith and Fulham. And I said, oh, this will be the first school in Hammersmith and Fulham. And the gentleman from the council had a bit of a chat, and he said, I think this is the only refill shop in Hammersmith and Fulham, which is huge, you know, to have a group of 10, 11-year-olds running a refill shop. That is the only one in Hammersmith and Fulham, and they're doing phenomenally. It's young people's voice. It gives these people who will be, you know, at least in their 30s by the time we get to net zero 2050, they will have seen refilling happening within a sort of home environment, but also within a business environment, circularity in action and skills development. So I'm just going to keep going. So the indicators of behavior change, which we saw in some of those quotes, people hadn't refilled before and they are refilling now. An active plastic waste reduction and a development of transferable workplace skills, which is really important. And we are aligned to the Skills Builder Partnership, and their research shows that people who are confident in using their skills achieve a wage premium when they leave school. So that's really excellent. Just, you know, how we're being received by organisations. One of our refill shops is shown on the World Economic Forum, World Wildlife Fund, UN Environment Programme reuse portal, which is great. Eco schools, you may have heard of, they work with schools across the country, trying to encourage schools to do more green activities. And what we do is aligned to their waste topic. They're very supportive. There's a wonderful organisation called Let's Go Zero, who again are very supportive. And then we work with a number of councils, and we worked originally with the GLA. So, and it's through that original grant that they gave us that we were able to create our first pilot and actually show that this can create change, create positive change. That's talking about school staff. So I'll just skip to the end and say that my view is inaction is inadequate where we are. We've all got to try harder, do better. It's hard. And, you know, this, to my mind, is so simple: to reduce plastic which is the most visible really of the pollutants to our planet, to reduce that where we can is something that we should all be trying to do. And really, is there any joy in owning a brand new shampoo bottle? I would argue no. But, you know, we've kind of come through this time where new is better, more is better. So that's, anyway, in a nutshell, the refill shop project. I'm going to unshare now and ask Graham if you could just play the cartoon animation. The cartoon animation is our new way of working from September. And what that will do is give children more autonomy. So instead of filling in order forms now, they'll be completing them on the platform. They'll still be using the physical resources that we've got, which I think is important from an active learning point of view. But actually, this will also mean that teachers don't have to spend time preparing to deliver the training. They're able to just press play or press pause, and then the children will engage. If you click on find out more, and then we should go through to, and then on the middle of the video, that's the one. Go.
Have you considered a child-led refill shop to make your school more sustainable? Letting the children plan and operate a refill shop has so many benefits. Everyone gets involved, and parents love the convenience of the shop and the affordably priced eco products. The children benefit by learning to use weights, measures, and maths in abundance. They'll get very creative with their marketing and become confident in problem solving and working with people they don't know. They'll follow step-by-step explainer videos.
Hi there! Welcome to your eco refill shop. We've set up a shop before, so we're here to guide you.
It's really important to reduce our plastic waste because plastic pollutes the sea and the land.
Every bottle refilled is a container saved from waste forever.
And go on to apply for jobs.
Let's talk about being directors. Let's think about what the skills really mean.
And even place orders for their eco products using their online stock control system.
Being a buying manager means you place orders for the products your shop will sell.
Don't worry, you've got full sign-off on their stock orders, so we've got you covered.
We build green skills in our eco refill shop.
We reduce plastic waste to help the natural world.
And we help everyone in our school community to do more for the environment.
Please join us. We can't wait to get you started. Bye for now.
So that's fine, Graham. Thank you very much. You can just shut that down. So that's really what I wanted to show you. I think more than anything, it's the importance of engaging children in their future. And actually, children just have so much to give. And I think particularly Key Stage 2 are massively underestimated. And when told that the business is theirs and they can get going with it, they sit up. And teachers talk about the fact that children surprise them, children that haven't engaged so well in perhaps more classical style learning really get stuck in. So it's fantastic in that area as well. But anyway, I'm going to open up the floor to questions. Wendy.
Hi, honestly, I was so pleased to see this on the agenda. Can we go into more practicality? So from the initial setting up, and that looks absolutely amazing, but the shops, I'm assuming, are open sort of after school hours at the pickup sort of time. And then do they have an adult there supervising them, or do they actually run it completely by themselves?
Oh, there's always an adult. I think it's important that the adult is there because just occasionally you might get a tricky customer. So there is a staff supervisor that is the person that they will go to if they need to. The ethos is don't come to us with problems, come to us with solutions. And so, you know, whose business is it? Oh, it's ours. So what do you think the solution might be? And that's where the learning is. You know, there isn't a cut and dry 2 + 2 = 4 answer to everything. But actually, what do you think might work? Let's try that. And so that's the role of the adult. Is
On that adult, have you found that is there a mixture of a volunteer teacher or volunteer parent?
normally it's a member of staff, but we do have schools where it's a member of the PTA. And you know what's been brilliant there is they brought their secondhand uniform alongside, and then they've set up secondhand book and secondhand toys, and you know it's fantastic. So I think with schools, it's possible to do either. Certainly the training falls within the classic school day, but in terms of actually having an adult with the children later. And they normally open once a month. Some schools open once every 2 weeks. Some schools open once a week, but most schools open once a month because, you know, you don't use up your washing up liquid that quickly generally. Yeah. So having a member of the PTA there is a really nice option. It's up to the school what would work best for them.
I'm hogging the floor a bit here. Sorry,
go on.
It was just on, is it only one provider of the products?
We work with a couple of providers. What we found is it certainly, you know, there are so many things that you could add in, and with every add-in, it adds complexity from the school's perspective. So we work with a range of affordable products that cover off what, you know, some manufacturers do some of them, but not all of them. So we're just trying to keep it as simple and affordable, inclusive as possible for as many people as possible.
So how much time, teacher time, is likely to be involved? That's the question that's going to be asked, because the curriculum is very full. The teachers are terribly busy. How are they going to fit it in, and where in the curriculum does it fit?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we've done some work with Essex County Council actually, and they squarely fitted it into maths. And, you know, so we've been participating in Essex Year of Numbers, and obviously you've got weights and volumes, money, estimating, all of those sorts of things. It can fit in many places. It probably doesn't have a single home. Maths works. I think if they use the eco team, they tend to meet at lunchtime and work through the training at their lunchtime meeting. And it's through that experience that we've developed the cartoons, because the cartoons should grab the children's attention more quickly. It means the teacher doesn't have to prepare, whereas at the moment the teacher is preparing and then presenting the training to the children, and then, you know, they go away next week, come back, it's all very rushed. The cartoons they can go through again and again. What does work brilliantly is if there's a year group, and then they can sew and weave this into the topics that they're covering. So for example, English, they'll do some persuasive writing. Well, they can do persuasive writing around the refill shop. There's all sorts of creativity that you can bring in. They do things like logos and posters, and that sort of thing can be done around the refill shop, and they certainly use it in maths. So again, you know, their maths topics can come around the stock ordering, the stock control. So it's got many homes, but that there isn't a sort of enterprise slot, if you like, in the classic curriculum, but where it is recognised is under the personal development grade, and that's what we find Ofsted comment on it, bringing learning to life, that kind of thing. It doesn't go unrecognised. So I would love there to be a sort of specific curriculum time that aligned to this. That doesn't exist, but with a little bit of creativity, it's absolutely findable. And going forward, the Department for Education are asking schools from 2025 to have a climate action plan. And there are 4 pillars to that climate action plan. So supporting green skills development, supporting biodiversity, and cutting carbon are 3 of those pillars. And this initiative allows you to do certainly cutting carbon across the entire school community, supporting biodiversity. You know, the children will engage in that, and the children running the team are building green skills. And as I say, the team can be handed on to a new cohort each year, so then that will filter through the school.
Just to add on to that, Lizzie, so did I hear it right, or does it depend on the school? Is it taught to give some realism to any of those maths or English work? Is it taught the whole of the school year, or just the children involved in running the shop?
Another great question. You know, we don't prescribe that. So what you could do with a whole school year is you could do the teaching for the whole school year, but then the job role application could be, not everyone will want to get involved, not everyone will be able to get involved. And so then, you know, they will apply for jobs if they want to. So, you know, if in maths you're talking about weights and volumes, there's no reason you can't use something that they readily identify with in their playground for that lesson. It kind of comes back to how the teacher wants to teach that topic. Likewise, persuasive writing. They can play the videos to the whole school assembly if they want to, but it's how they're going to use them. They get enough resources in the training for 20 children. So that's what it's targeted at. And those 20 children, up to 20 children, will operate the shop. If they wanted to do more, they would just need to have a conversation. But that's the sort of one size fits all approach. And then if somebody doesn't want to use that size, then you know, just get in touch and have a conversation. Sorry, go on.
You made reference earlier on, there was a training cost of £450 or something. Do I remember that?
Yes, it's £435 plus VAT. So that's the cost for access to the platform and all of the resources. So unfortunately, we've had to fund the web development ourselves, and you know, it sadly it's a cost.
That seems very reasonable to me, and I think town councils should be able to afford something like that, because we're asking for we get requests for grants, you know, that sort of sum, up to 1,000, up to 2,000, and I really think certainly where I am in Stonehouse, Gloucestershire, we've got money that we could fund that for
I don't think you can, Wendy. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is now me with my clerk hat on. Because it comes as part of a statutory body that is not the council, it would be ultra virus to spend money on.
Yeah, I believe we could if under, because we've got oh, what's the term? I've forgotten the term now. Power of competence.
Doesn't
matter.
Get
involved.
No, sorry, I really challenge that one. Check it out with GAPTC by all means. But I don't think that you can, even with power of competence. If it's something that's being led by the parent-teacher sort of association, or something as an add-on and it's not seen as part of the school curriculum, you may just be able to get away with it.
Well, it's not part of the school curriculum, is it? We just discussed that it's
well
a choice by the schools if they want to get involved.
It's still delivering the curriculum though. But anyway, let's look into it.
I've got to disagree with that. I would challenge it, but
shall I just mention to muddy the waters? Certainly, we work with lots of councils, and sometimes they find money from the waste budget. Sometimes they find some money in the education budget. So I don't understand the structure.
That's county council.
Yes.
County council's not a problem. It's parish and town council monies that are not allowed to be used to fund.
Fine. We can always go through the county council and see what they can do.
There are ways around it. Absolutely. I don't mean to be a blocker at all.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying all I'm thinking is that the school doesn't have to fund it necessarily.
May I use my hand up?
Yes, sorry.
In line to I'm this speaks to me in so many different ways. So to use the Alan Sugar apprentice model, Lizzie, thank you. You're hired.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a parish councillor. I'm a maths teacher, and have been a school leader, and a variety of other things, including eco sort of championing, and have trained as a parish clerk as well. So for lots of different reasons, this is speaking to me. And what I would say is, if I was looking at this from an academy group of schools. And especially when I was responsible within a pyramid of schools, so very rural, and we had first schools, middle schools, and high schools within a cooperative pyramid of schools. And this is something that middle schools, you know, as you say, key stage 2, 3. But when you've got 2-tier, which is pretty much what we've got around in Gloucestershire, mostly, I think it is. I'm not sure if it is entirely. But it would be a great transition project to have maths where you've got the feeder primary schools feeding into something that the secondary school could then take. So in the year of key state of year 6, let's say, where all the students from the different feeder schools then become year 7 together in the secondary school, and they're kind of bringing it with them, all that experience that they've done, and then it could feed into, I mean, I trained as an economist first and foremost, and then into, so I've got the 3 degrees, but the economics side of it, what I would do is a whole week's collapsed timetable, and then bring all those different subjects as you talked about before, with the English and the science and the, you know, you could really do a massive collapsed timetable for a whole week on it and involve all the year 7s as part of their transition. It would be like their induction week.
Yes, no, fantastic idea.
You know, and that way then the pyramid of schools, I don't know how your pricing would work, whether you would see that as a cheeky move, but whether that would then make it much more affordable, because they're usually having to buy or fund some sort of induction, a transition program anyway. So, and if it was the whole academy, then it would be a way of the schools communicating across a shared project and the teachers being trained together. And it's just a common currency for the whole emotional roller coaster of coming to a big new school. And you've got something in common that you can kind of share experiences around and come with that confidence that you've run your own shop in primary.
Yes, no, that's a great idea. I'm not sure how I would, I mean, I guess that with the feeder primaries, is that all quite structured? Is there a sort of way to communicate that, or?
Yeah, there's nearly always a teacher in a secondary school who's got the responsibility of doing a transition. So it could be that you've got a science teacher, a maths teacher, and an English teacher, for example, all being transition teacher, or it could be that you've just got the one. And they tend to go out in the spring or summer terms and do some sample lessons with their primary schools, so that they've met the teacher before they transition up to high school. So there is already some resource dedicated to making transition a more comfortable and more fluid situation in schools. So I think you know, that's some resource that could then be used across.
That's a really
Who has that
interesting
resource?
idea.
Who has
Neil,
that resource?
It's part and parcel of a teacher's job, is that particularly when you're qualified and you're going into the sort of upper, you know, you go through threshold and you're a senior teacher, then especially then, to keep that seniority point, you usually have some extra responsibilities, and one of those, or maybe 3 of those members of staff, will have this as something they've got to do as part of their day job. So what will happen is it will get resourced by maybe a cover teacher covering them for the morning that they're out at the primary school or something like that.
It sounds wonderful to me at the moment, because I'm here because we've created something called Bromyard Mad Show, and that is dedicated to exactly what this presentation is about, and that is getting children to understand climate change issues and to make a difference, to contribute to them, and therefore not be afraid of climate change by the time 2050 comes and they're voting in the general election. We've got all of the 7 feeder schools into the secondary school in Bromyard as part of our group, and we are carrying out a survey of all the families, and we're doing that survey every year for the next 7 years, so we can see hopefully changes in lifestyle attitudes by the families as they all become more aware of how they can make a difference. So this is absolutely heaven sent to me. So if I could have your contact details afterwards, then rest assured we'll be in touch.
Is that Lizzie or myself or both? Or...
Well, you mentioned the transition aspect, and that
Yeah.
is key to me, because anything that helps bring, we've got a very, very supportive head at the secondary school, and certainly the transition that you're talking about, which is all these problems are new to me, but you obviously know and understand that issue, and it's one I'd love to know more about.
Yeah, I've been a secondary school maths teacher for 15 years, and then for the last 10 years I've been doing more about, well, I'm a political economist, so everything about the public sector and how to make it work better. So I used to be a hospital manager as well, and merged hospitals and this sort of thing. But I don't want to hijack Lizzie's session. It's really how to enable Lizzie's work, and mine is just an example of where I think straight away it might work well.
Could I just drop just unmute that? I always swear about people who have Windows computers because they don't work all the time, and here I am having trouble with a Mac. Dreadful. That was stirring stuff, Lizzie. I just wanted to say that there is a chat facility in Zoom, and if people put their email addresses in there, then the chat becomes part of the presentation on the wiki, where all these chat sessions or banter sessions go. So if you want to exchange email addresses, or you want to be recorded as being here, by all means, please just stick your email address in the chat system. That really helps. The question I had, Lizzie, was I can imagine you have issues with being oversubscribed for this. The children will, I'm sure, be falling over themselves to help out. But do you ever have schools where, in fact, there is not the success to keep it going?
We've had a couple of schools, one where it started well, but it was mainly the staff that were engaged. And that's where I've gone back to the council and said, you know, how about a loss leader product? If this is about cost, can we reduce one product and see if that will bring in the parents who aren't engaging very well? But, you know, for the most part, that's just not the case. It's not a complete silver bullet. We do surveys, and at the start, our surveys are well responded to, and we have about 95–96% of respondents saying they would like a school refill shop. And if you drill into the tiny percentage that don't, it's very often that they refilled last week and they're worried about their local refill shop, which is very admirable. But that conversion rate doesn't then convert to people shopping at the refill shop. And so, you know, it's a job for the marketing team to really get behind making them aware of it and to persuade them to come along. And I think, you know, we all know that there is a big difference between saying you want to do something and actually doing it. But there are many things that play into that. But no, for the most part, they do well, and the children are engaged. And if they're not engaged, they can swap out and someone else can come in. Yeah. It's you know, it's never going to be an ideal fit for everyone. But as I said earlier, there are some children that do surprise the teachers, which is always great to hear.
Well, I think it's wonderful for them, the children, to learn how to cope with issues that arise. So, you know, if someone tries to swipe a credit card and it doesn't get approved, then they sort of run into that as an issue that they're going to have to deal with in life. And how do you cope with that and that sort of thing? I think it's brilliant. One last practical question. If you have sort of a session once every 2 weeks or once a month, something, how long does it last for? And is it only at the end of the day? No one does it at the start of the day at drop-off time?
Some schools do it at the start of the day. And again, that kind of comes back to not being too prescriptive. They can do it when they want to do it. Secondary schools might do it during the day because they're selling mainly to staff and themselves. Although we've got one that set up a pop-up shop at their local primary school. they generally sell 500ml refills to start with, but then if people want to refill more, they are welcome to, and they will organize themselves, and maybe they'll refill a litre the next time, or sometimes people bring along very odd volumes that need refilling, and the calculator comes out and the children solve a problem. Brilliant. So but people realize that they need to stock up for the shop, but they kind of, and that's a little bit of extra effort for the environment. It's we cannot carry on at the rate we're going, producing things that we really don't care about, just because it's a tiny bit more convenient. That's the crux of it, I think, from my perspective. And I think so many people get that. And, bewildering at the moment that the election doesn't seem to be touching on, and I'm not going to politicize this, but I'm not hearing nearly enough about what we're doing for the environment. But people do get that. They do get that we need to do more for the environment, and this unlocks the opportunity to do that. And I think that is massively misunderstood by the people who are wanting to lead us or are leading us. It's people want to do more. It's how do we make that a realistic opportunity for them? And at the moment, the offer is not doing that. So so they're happy, sorry, to get back to your question, Graham, they're happy to stock up because that's how this works.
Right. And the last question I have is, are you happy for us to go ahead and recommend this to schools that we're familiar with or around about us? We just go ahead and spread the word for you?
That would be amazing. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, well, that's answered my questions. Let me pass on to Mervyn, who's next in line.
And Stuart as well. I know you've been waiting patiently. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I think it's absolutely fantastic. More power to you. I'd like to know how long you've been doing this for, and is there any follow-up on the pupils who have been involved in the project? Does it affect them in later life?
That's a lovely question to be able to answer, and sadly I can't. PupilProfit is tiny, and having that ability to follow up is not something that we can currently do. What was the first part of the question? The follow-up is very, very difficult. That's more done through the Skills Builder Partnership, who are a big organisation, and they can track the ability to use the transferable skills and the confidence. So in that sense, there is research supporting confident use of transferable skills equals wage premium. But we don't have it at an individual level.
No, how long it'd be nice to know how many of these actually go off and work with the environment or take climate change more seriously, or does it affect what they do in the future, basically?
It's a lovely question. And I think with the new web platform, that will be somewhere that people could come back to and, tell us what you did with this is a great feedback section if they remember it. Funnily enough, with Tuck Shop does get talked about, and people say, oh, I remember running the Tuck Shop. And so this is only the idea started in 2019, and then schools closed, so it's all relatively new.
Right.
But I think because people talk so happily about school tuck shops in later years, there's no reason why they shouldn't also talk happily about this, except it's refilling rather than eating. So but if something does spark a thought, you tend to kind of hold that, don't you? So it would be a nice way to try and gather feedback on the platform. So I shall put that down. Feedback later years.
Okay, thank you for that. And just one final thing. We're about to build a brand new all-through school in Essex. And I did notice you said you have been involved with Essex County Council.
Yes.
So that might be a great opportunity to open another branch.
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm not sure how long their funding's going to go on for. The current year is focused on year of numbers, and I know they've got less funding next year. But anyway, either way, let's stay in touch, and hopefully that would be great.
And also, this new school is on my daily cycle route, so it'd be great for me. I felt a bit bereft when our local refill shop closed.
Perfect.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Mervyn, would you like to ask your question?
Right, thank you very much. I will just throw one thing in at the start, not for discussion, but for people to go away and have a look. If you want to look at funding from parish and town councils, look at section 137 as a mechanism. That's something to go away and look at. My question, I've got a couple of questions really. I think it's a really great project to get into schools. My first question is, how do you sell it? That's because schools, obviously money is tight, time is tight, and space is tight. You've got to find somewhere to store all of this stuff. So that's the first question. What if you are a business now and you've got your sales representatives out in the community? How do you track what are you selling? How do you sell it? That's the first question. And I'm in Lincolnshire, and I'm a district councillor as well as a parish councillor. In a previous life, before the last election, I had a seat on the executive at District Council, and I was a member of the Lincolnshire Waste Partnership, which basically the 7 district councils work with the county council for waste reduction and plan. Now, for me, the way that you can tackle this, one is through the waste part of county councils, whatever they are, because this is about reduction and reuse, which is a big thing. And obviously here in Lincolnshire, it's county council that's responsible for the education. It's nothing to do now with district council. So I'm just interested. I can see a way of selling it through the waste side, get the waste partnership and the chairman of the waste partnership, who's a county councillor, to try and sell that through the county council. But how is this actually sold? I can see the benefits of it, but somebody has got to say, yes, okay, we will devote the time, the effort and the money. And they're always at very, very tight premiums.
Well, as you said, the waste team are very keen on it. The work we're doing in Essex is the education team. And so, that's something that we just work our relationships to get in touch with more councils and find the people that we should be speaking to that are interested in this, and there are a lot of people that are interested. It seems to capture the imagination, and with schools I think it's really about making the information available, and there are schools that love what this does, and I think that's the reaction that they need to have. I completely see that the budgets are strapped, and that's where the work with councils, you can take the cost of the training and the cost of the opening stock package, and you say, okay, well, we're going to gather data for the council, and then the council will invest in data collection, and it makes it free for the school. So that's one approach. But where schools are passionate about it, they are happy to work with us. Most of our work comes through councils, but schools do get in touch. So that's kind of how we're going about it at the moment.
So I mean, I can sell this to the waste partnership because I don't have a problem, because I know the people that I need to talk to do that. And so the mechanism for them would be then presumably to contact you to look at what you've done in other areas and how this thing works. Because
yes.
I mean, there are a number of schools in my district that would be really keen on this. I've got one in my ward that's really very much into the environmental issues. Great little school, and I can see that the headmistress, they would be very interested in that. So for me now, then, when I go away from this session now, I will sell this through the Lincolnshire Waste Partnership and get them to promote that, because I think this is something would dovetail really nicely into work that they do, and they've got money.
Yes, yeah, no, and well, that's exactly right. That's the ideal way forward, because the school budgets are tiny, and you know, if it can be provided free of charge, then that means that they're much more likely to take it up. And yeah, they just don't, for the most part, don't have a lot of money, and the ones that will get the most benefit out of it, if you like, will be the ones that where the children, well, certainly the schools with less money, it is perhaps arguably more important to give the skills education. So, you know, making it free of charge answers that as well. Oh, you're on mute still.
I was going to say, thank you very much indeed for that. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Lovely.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Amanda, I think you're next, and then Wendy.
Thank you. I put a couple of things in the chat that, Lizzie, I wonder whether I could just point them out. One is that it could, in terms of the impact of this, it might be possible that if you worked with a university that had teacher training based there, it could be a master's in education student research project, perhaps. Certainly an interesting area that could be quite exciting for the right student. But, you know, these are teachers who are teaching, but they might introduce it into their school and then be able to do some sort of research around the longevity, or setting up a structure that you could then use to give to schools to track progress through. It's just a thought, but I really wanted to ask whether you were aware of the National Numeracy Champion Programme. It's a national programme.
No.
Okay, so this year is the year of National Numeracy Championship.
Oh.
And it's basically about demystifying maths. And for anybody who who's got that feeling of, oh, I can't do maths, or I was never any good at school, or I can't help my kids with their, or it's holding me back in my career, or I really, you know, it's that thing about being caught out or being caught short with your maths confidence, and just feeling a lot more confident in your numeracy skills in general. And so Gloucestershire County Council, for example, has got an officer at County Council who's responsible for the coordination of our local champions in Gloucestershire. I'm one of them. And there's a national person who I could put you in touch with. And I'm just thinking that, you know, you can see the link there, that it's a very practical thing that you're doing. And maths is just something that you've got to problem solve in order to get where you want to be. So
Yes.
It's not maths per se, it's maths in order to run the shop, in order to save the planet, in order to have fun with your school friends. You know, it's all of these things, that maths is just one of the ways of achieving it. So that's the sort of thing we want to see more of and to champion more. And I know that they will have got most of their year's budget spent, but nevertheless, to get you that conversation that might then have national reach.
Yes.
And it's a way of involving the parents, the family, the grandparents, the whole community with youngsters and their maths. And that's exactly what National Numeracy Championship Programme is all about. And anybody else on the call who's not from Gloucestershire, please do also, if you're interested, find out in your area about National Numeracy and champions. It's called the Multiply Programme in Gloucestershire. So I'm not quite sure where Multiply, the brand, and National Numeracy Championship comes in, but I've heard both of them mentioned in Gloucestershire. And the other point I wanted to raise quickly, because I realise I'm using up a lot of time, is I'm an elected director at Mid Counties Cooperative. As with all co-ops, we're very keen on our environment and our support in communities. And we've got a new way of funding communities for progress in these areas, and that's our Doing Good Together Fund. We haven't made our first awards yet, but basically the first 1,000 points of everybody's, you know how you used to have the old dividend, the divvy stamps and what have you when you shopped at the co-op, and now you get points. So it used to be that those points became money but now it's that those points are going into a fund. The first 1,000 points go into a fund called Doing Good Together. And one of the things we're looking at is how in our community we can achieve lots of bigger things that might need some pump priming and then can be sustainable thereafter. So that's, and I just wonder, with us being a supplier as well, whether there might be a conversation to be had in relation to sourcing products and actually having some sort of partnership even.
That's
Just
interesting.
it's a long, big, very big kind of wild card, but it's just a thought.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's very interesting. You know, always keen for support. Certainly the first idea, pumping points towards something that helps the community, is really excellent. In terms of, I don't know if becoming a supplier would undermine that in any way, because the points would be going towards something that you were benefiting from in a sense. But anyway, certainly something we could discuss further.
Could I ask Wendy if she'd like to go now?
It was back to the actual practicalities of the shop and the operation of the shop. So I'm assuming you're dealing with cash and card payment. So how do you manage that? Do you need to set up a separate account just for that, or does it go into some other account?
Oh, I love these questions. So different for everywhere. Schools opt, do they want cash or card or both? What we would recommend is that they have, if they do use the card reader, just in case there's a technology fail, something goes wrong, have some cash. It varies. It seems to be more of a problem in academies to find accountants to point the card readers at. They need an account to point the card reader at. Sometimes the PTA kindly steps in and says you can point it at one of our accounts, and it becomes a PTA sub-account. So that's the option. But in schools that aren't academies, they seem to find ways to make that work. It's one of those questions that invariably gets solved. We have obviously a network of schools, and funnily enough, last term on the optional WhatsApp, I put out a question about exactly that, because I didn't know what the solution was, but I was sure somebody would know what the solution might be. And so they were able to offer it as a, have you thought about this? And that turned out to be their solution. So those sorts, all I can tell you is the solutions do get found, but every school is different. So it's sometimes quite difficult to be very prescriptive about it. But yes, it needs to point at an account, and the PTA account seems to be the fallback solution if there isn't a suitable school account.
That sounds great. I'm just going to get a plug in for what I do. I'm literally, after this call, putting together an order I've just received to refill my local shiny goodness in Nailsworth with some cleaning vinegar. So that's what my small business is when it goes green. So I was really excited about this, because I had also during the COVID years tried to contact local universities to get older students involved in setting up their own shop, and I was trying to get funding from some of the bigger businesses in Gloucestershire. I didn't succeed. I tried Ecotricity, I tried Superdry and whatever, and they just weren't interested in a local little woman like me trying to sort out something like this. So I'm not giving up. I have got some other avenues, and I'm inspired by what you've done at this level, and I can see possibilities of getting more information from Amanda, because we're both in Gloucestershire, to say, look, yeah, let's see what we can do locally to spread this. But thank you. It's been a really interesting talk today.
Thank you very much. No, absolute pleasure.
Well,
I'll put my email in. Should I put my email in the chat as well, Graham?
yes, please.
Yeah, let me do that now.
And while you're doing that, I'll just check to see if anyone else needs to ask any further questions. And I don't see any hands shooting up. So let me say, Lizzie, that was absolutely brilliant. I echo Wendy that it was fascinating, quite more involved than I thought it would be in terms of the use for the schools and the children and everything else. And appreciated the wider range you gave of what happened. So I think that, you know, the question of tracking where the children go and what the impact is from Stuart would be, I would have thought it was a great, either a master's or a PhD in education to see what the impact is down the road, 5 years or 10 years, that somebody can pick up and see where it went. I don't suppose you keep any records of who's been doing what at which school.
No, we steer clear of that personal information. That's something that the school would be able to do. So I think it would be more, you know, having a little, has this inspired you? Come back and tell us if it changes how your future pans out. That kind of appeal to people that they might just remember, and they might just come back and find the website, and they might just be able to offer that in the fullness of time.
I think it'll be a lot more surreptitious. I think you'll have the kingdom of traders becoming even better at being a kingdom of traders just because you've been working at it. So thank you, Lizzie, so much. It was a wonderful session. I really enjoyed it. And I'll say thank you to everybody for coming, and see you all next time. Please take care.
Lizzie's email, please.
Very good.
It's in the chat. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care all. Bye-bye.